mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, yes. So we have to have a quick public service announcement.
We have some new members here, new members in the audience. We are trying out a new format with the WebEx where you will be on camera most of the time and the agenda will not be showing. So appropriate behavior.
Remember not to roll my eyes.
Okay, are we all good now?
Yep.
Can you put Perla's mic on? Thank you. And Perla, just leave your mic on. Perfect. All right, Perla, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Newquist,
Here.
Berkowitz. Diaz. Logan. Parker. Revis. Richmond.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Perfect. All right, first item up on the agenda is the approval of minutes for June 4th, 2024.
Motion to request.
You know, that's what I'm on the wrong page. It was, yeah, it was for June 4th, 2024.
Yeah.
Have a roll call, please.
Newquist,
Yes.
Berkowitz. Revis. Richmond.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item up is old business. And that is going to be for the Hero folks. The authorizing of payment for Hero is being sent back to the committee. We're still waiting for the contract for, from the state's attorney's office. And Mary, can you give us just a brief update on where that's at?
Sorry, is this the grant contract?
For the opioid funds.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry, mine.
sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to give you the finger. I just,
No.
it was a
all right.
timeout. And I don't mean that.
No, I get it. I've been working with the executive's office because they're going to have to be the ones to administer it. It could be that they have sent me something back last week. I was out of the office last week, so I'm working through all of those to see where we're at. I have been in contact with Colette, so hopefully we'll have a draft with you by the end of the week.
Okay, so what we should do is get a motion table.
I was going to say, yeah.
Motion.
Previous role.
Yeah, a second.
Second Berkowitz.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that's, motion is carried. Next item up is old business, or any other old business.
Check one.
And Ellie's going to come forward.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, 1 second, 1 second. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. There you go.
Thanks. Thank you, Nellie.
Good morning. I had spoke to Cheryl Gala about the cannabis dollars and just kind of telling her where everything was. Raquel and I have been working on this pretty much the last, 6 months or so. So I want to give the finance committee an update. Basically everyone that was listed to receive funds has received their funds. Many of them have expended it. Some highlights. Well, we know we gave funding to Children Advocacy Center. They have a new building that went very well. Birth to Five is a state agency that looks for where there are discrepancies or not enough resources for early childhood. And so we were the first county to use cannabis dollars to fund that, which is a big deal. It made it all the way to Springfield and the governor's letter and some other things I was told about. So that's another highlight. We also were able to give funds to the Will County Workforce Development to hire someone to work with people who were released from prison that were not felons to get them back into the workforce. So they actually had a program. They just didn't have anyone to run it, but they were able to take care of that. There is a success story about a gentleman who unfortunately shot his boss many, many years ago and went to prison. But when he got out recently, he went through a whole bunch of things with the workforce development program in a good way. And now he's employed and working and contributing to society, right? So that's just one of the stories. And so the last thing that we have that has not been distributed is the $150,000 that was earmarked for small businesses and nonprofits. And I'll just walk you through the process of how we got there. So we put that as a line item for entities who did not receive funding from the CARES Act, from ARPA, like they got nothing from the county during all these times where we had different funding available. We also put a lot of things in there as far as requirements of working in R3 zones, because we know some of the cannabis dollars are supposed to go back into the areas that was hardest hit by the war on drugs and over incarceration. And so between Raquel, myself, and Samantha, a rubric was created and weighted. And what we are waiting on now is on the recommendation of Chair Ogala, she suggested that the college, Governor State, which is kind of a partner of ours, we've given them money for teacher and nursing programs, but anyhow, they have an entrepreneurship and leadership program, and having those students evaluate the applications. So, and I thought that was a great suggestion. So we've been in communication with Governor State department that runs that program to have their students. And when I say students, I don't want you all to think it's like 18, 19-year-old students. If you're familiar with Governor State, it's really for like adults returning to college. So these are people who own businesses, have businesses, and are wanting to get, credentialed behind it. I don't know them, they don't know me, and Samantha will run a workshop with them to walk through the rubric, walk through how things should be, not how things should be scored, but how to walk through the rubric. It would be a blind scoring, meaning two people will look at every application, but you won't know who else is looking at the application and you won't see who it is. The idea is to give out $10,000, $15,000 grants, because we discussed $5,000, $2,000. Though that's not enough to really do much with. So the last step is getting basically like a contract in place with Governor State that says, yes, we're going to score these applications within this timeline. We're going to work with the county executive office. And then they will send us a list basically based on that scoring of who were the top 10 entities. So I can try to answer questions, but I might not have all the answers, but I can answer. The reason I also, before I stop and take any of your questions, the reason I also think this is important, one of the goals we had, Raquel and I, is for the same people who receive funding 2023, 2024 will receive it again, but they have all been told we basically need to know what you did with the money, right? Like a report that's not necessarily where they come and present, but something that says we received cannabis dollars. This is what we did with them. This was the outcome, the success, the improvements that were made in our organization. And none of them had an issue with that. Because it took so long to get to this space, we don't think we need to try to reinvent the wheel and pick new entities for next year. So as I mentioned, Birth to Five, Children's Advocacy Centers on that list, Will County Workforce Development, and a few other entities, including this one with the $150,000 earmarked. Jim made a good point. Cannabis revenue is not as high as it was when this all started, but I think we're still in a safe place because we left quite a bit, over $2 million in the cannabis fund, even though we did all these things that we did this year. So if we were to receive $0, which is not the case, but if we were to receive $0 this year, we could still run a second year with these organizations and still have funding in the cannabis fund.
Thank you, Natalie. And yeah, you guys are doing a great job at You ladies are doing a great job in running the fund and all that kind of stuff. I just brought up that note is
Yeah,
we're seeing revenue, declines in other states as well as I think in ours, so too.
I
But
appreciate that
no,
fact.
No, it's, and thank you for the work you do. And actually, we're working with existing entities like Children's Advocacy Center, which has long history with the county and that, as well as Will County Workforce. So
Oh yeah, and then also the Rita Ficina runs it. Why can I never think of it? It's not the Children Advocacy Center, the CASA. So CASA had to let an employee go, like a counselor, which then increased the workload for the counselors that were still there. But through the cannabis dollars that they received, they were able to hire this person. So now instead of, looking at 300 cases, a person's load is reduced because they were able to get that staff member back. So it's a lot of good things that have happened with the cannabis dollars. And we look at it from a perspective of children who, a lot of the funding is going to younger or organizations that work with younger people, but those are the children that were impacted by those who have been arrested, those who have been on drugs. So we see it as helping all of those surrounding that individual be able to still be productive in society. Because when a person in a house goes to jail, right, yeah, they're deeply impacted, but they might leave children. They might have been the breadwinner. They might have, been the one taking care of the house, taking care of a parent. So we look at those things as well when we're like, okay, who are we thinking should receive these cannabis dollars?
okay. Julie, 1 second.
Member Coleman, I just wanted you to know, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Samantha Markham is going to be holding a training tonight on the recipients of the grants from the Birth to 5.
Okay.
So that has been done, and she is going to provide us with a list of the recipients, et cetera, but she is doing a training tonight with them.
Awesome.
So I had a question. How can organizations apply for
Also,
these funds?
so that $150,000 in the decision about Governor State needs to happen like this week. I need to reach back out to them. But anyhow, once we have the group that's going to review the application, Samantha's going to have a whole marketing piece that goes out, kind of similar to, so Birth to 5 received the funds, right? But when we announced it to the public to apply, that went out through Will County's website. So it's going to be a month, open window of about a month for people to apply. So we'll be advertising for it. The board will know. There will be a link created on the Will County website because they applied through Amplifund, I believe is the name of the software that's used.
Okay, all right. And do they or do they not have to have the recipient of the dollars? Do these dollars have to go to someone who has had a substance abuse issue, or could it just be?
Oh, no.
Okay, special
It-
needs or?
So we kind of left it open, but it does look at, like, one of the weighted criteria is how many people is this going to impact, right? So you have some entities that will apply for a grant and a lot of the funding goes towards like one person's salary. So we put in there, that's not part of this plan, right? The funding should be going towards improving programming or providing additional services or continuing services, right?
Mhm.
And so they don't necessarily have to be servicing those who might have been impacted by the cannabis and war on drug situation, but there's weighted things like number of people that you're going to be impacting if you live or if your business is in an R3 zone, things of that nature. So all of that is the weighted criteria.
And what are the restrictions for the R3 zone? Then do you have a map?
Yes,
of-
it's a map that you can click on. And actually you enter the address of, say, where you're servicing people or where your business is, and it tells you
Mhm.
this is the R3 zone you're in. I think it's a 6-digit code.
And is.
But it's
is-
not, you don't have to be in an R3 zone. You could be servicing people who live in an R3 zone.
So is that a criteria?
That's a
from the
weighted-
money or from the government, or is that something
We created this.
Okay, because the only caution I have with that is that, the drug, the impact of substance abuse has hit the entire county,
Mhm.
no matter what your zip code is. So if you've got a portion of the population that may not fit that, they're going to be excluded.
They won't be excluded. It's just, that's one question out of probably 10. And
Right,
that
but
one
it's
question has some
part
weight
of
to
the
it.
weighting system.
Right, but it's
Yeah.
not, what's the word? There's other questions that have more weight. Like, how many people are you servicing? How long have you been in business? Those, and the biggest eliminator that we wanted to look at was not increasing one person's salary, right? And also lost my train of thought. Haven't received any funds from the county, because we know there's organizations who they receive CARES dollars, they receive ARPA dollars, they have dollars coming, from other places, but this 150 is for those
So
who have
can you
not.
provide us with that R3 information? Because I need to look at my district then and see, does it even, does that criteria fit? Because if it doesn't, then that's something that's an unfortunate weight against any application that comes from my district. Might have the same problem in some of the other districts as well.
Well,
So-
like I said, they don't have to be in the R3 zone. They could be servicing people in the R3 zone, and that's not an eliminating factor. They don't get eliminated if they're not in the R3 zone, or if they're not servicing people in the R3 zone. It's just you get more points. One of the things we thought about, because with the ARPA application, which I thought was unfair, kind of to your point, is that there was like 15 points if you have ever received a federal grant, and 0, right? 15 and 0. So that's a huge difference. The way we set this up is more like 4, 3, 2, 1. Meaning I'm in a R3 zone and I'm servicing R3 people. That's 4 points. But you see the difference between a 15 versus, like, that's a true discrepancy, because that eliminated so many people with the ARPA dollars. So for R3 zone, we don't have it where it's all or nothing. It's scaled down. You're welcome.
Thank
And once Governor State go ahead and say, yes, we have the people lined up, it'll be, I know Samantha's going to do a great thing with announcing it and links and all that good stuff, and training people to how to fill out the application, and training the people who are reviewing the applications.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raquel. Thank you.
And thank you for letting me go early so I can get back to work.
No problem. All right, next up is, our first item up under new business is how the History on Wheels organization is here to give us a presentation. Luther, who led us in the pledge, thank you very much for that. Hey, national anthem, it's not on the agenda.
Eat myself. Jim only
No.
gave me 5 minutes, but I told him I needed 3 hours. But okay, I'll tweak it.
We compromised on an hour and 45 minutes. So.
I'll tweak it.
Thank you for coming out, Luther.
Thank you for having me. So I don't know how to move that slide, so who would do that?
So, yeah, so
Next slide when you're ready.
Thank you,
yeah,
sir.
Tim will move the
Appreciate it.
slides. We all have it on here and we can also see it up there too. So
Oh, you
thank
guys are so high tech. I love it.
Let's see. You
Cool.
get to judge us in about.
Wonderful.
The floor is yours, Luther.
All right, so I don't get the. Okay, wonderful. I thought he was gonna tell me to hold on like.
No, I.
Oh, I'm already hot. Okay,
But
wonderful.
you know what? Halfway through, I usually get it figured out.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you for having me. So, as my name is Luther Johnson, and I'm the founder of History on Wheels, which it's which acronym is HOW, which stands for History on Wheels. We started out as a mobile museum. Just give you a little bit about what we do. It started as a mobile museum, basically traveling around the country, sharing the history of African Americans who have fought and served throughout all the conflicts that Americans have. I'm a reenactor of 15 years of Civil War and World War I. I've been in 2 movies, WTTW, Channel 11, numerous documentaries, et cetera, et cetera. So I know a little bit about what we've done throughout history, just on the things that I have done. Currently, HOW has taken on a new mission. We became a 501c3, and our mission is just to educate everyone about the people who served and fought and struggled throughout the Great Wars during wartime and peace. The mission we have taken on is that you probably already are familiar with the next slide, formerly Cassidy House. As you heard about this project, it sat at 411 Cass Street, I believe it was, or Collins, and it's now been moved to 575 Jackson. It was a project this building was saved by the Preservation and Sandy Vasquez from the Will County Historical Society. Thornton's bought the property and was going to destroy the property, but they stepped up, saved the building, and it sat at 575 Jackson for a number of years. Next slide. As I stated earlier, when I saw the building, it dawned on me, not only could we be mobile, but we could be a brick and mortar location. So we decided to take on that project because the Will County Historical Society did not have the funding, the background, and the wherewithal to turn that building into something. It was just sitting there, dilapidated, falling apart, eyesore for the community, etc. So my background is in construction and remodeling. I'm probably one of the guys that can do a lot of things that most can't. Not being arrogant, but it's a fact. But we took on that project to make a museum, brick and mortar, to not only be mobile, but now have what will be from my research, and Noah has corrected me, the only African descendants military and historical museum in Joliet and in Will County. There's nothing like this in the entire county, which was a huge, huge undertaking. Next slide. So the importance of preserving this history is basically the building itself. It's built in 1850. So it's probably one of the second of oldest still standing buildings in the county and in Joliet. It was built by George W. Cassidy, who was a predominant landowner here in Joliet. He actually owned the land where Stateville currently sits. He owned all this land in the 19th century. So he has a lot of rich history within his family. So we preserving that building that he had built, and then it's just a perfect thing to then come around and put a museum. As you understand, the Civil War was in 1864, fought over slavery or states' rights, whichever argument we want to go down. And it's just fitting to put a museum in Joliet, in a county, to talk about the roles that African Americans have played throughout the history. Next slide. So what we did when we got the building from Joliet, we put in a 30, 60, 90-day plan. You know, call a SWOT analysis. What's your plan? And we put this plan together on how we attack transforming this building to currently where it is now. So the first stage was stage one. The first 30 days, we had our budget committee. We met with the city and got the permits. That's been completed. We began removing. We removed 18 bags of trash and 24 bags of debris out of the building when we first got it. Cut the grass. The roof has not yet been installed, but the soffits and fascias have been repaired. We removed all the grown trees that blocked the building, because one of my fear is that, and I told the mayor this, with what we have going on the east side of Joliet, no one can see. And I didn't want a child walking by and get grabbed and drugged into this building. And we know how that story goes. So we removed all the trees so you can have a clear vision of the building. We installed security lights. That's been completed. Signage to let them know who we were and we were coming. Next slide. The second phase of the transformation is we met with the city and planning department of the city of Joliet to discuss the sewer and water drainage. That's been done. They're in a process of helping us run the sewer and water to the building. We've consulted a landscape architect. We haven't hired one yet. We've also have a civil engineer who's done the platter survey. They've done the scope of work of how the elevations, the floodplain drawings have been completed. We've obtained the permits, as you see, for the window and tuck pointing. That's been completed. And we have an architect who also is occurring right now, finishing up the drawings of the major inside construction. And we began the demolition of the inside and installed a temporary porch. I don't know if you guys, next slide. If you saw on June 19th, we had Congresswoman Underwood speak in front of the building. We've had the Will County Board President. She spoke in front of the building, and she commented that she believed that this building could be a building that is on the Route 66 map when people come to visit for the bicentennial. It can be on that trail, and we believe that too. Phase 3 is where we're currently at. So we're hiring a general contractor. We're starting a major remodeling of the building, completing the landscape drawings, the parking lot, and the cleanup and the ultimately opening of the building. So the building we started this project, I might add, January the 4th of this year. And we've accomplished all this personally basically out of a few fundraisers we've had, my own personal money, and donations from people who believe in this project coming to Joliet and believing that what we're doing is a good thing as far as vitalizing the east side of Joliet and bringing in different entities on that side of town. Next slide. Community impact of the African descendant military museum. So we sat down and put some real thought. What will this building do for the east side of Joliet, for Joliet, and for Will County? And we put what I call some markers. We wanted to make sure we're just not opening a museum so everybody can come and say, oh, that's great, and walk through. We want the museum to have impact, and we want the museum to be something that if people began to fund and invest in us, we're giving something back. So the community was the number one thing on my list. It takes many hands, as they say, many hands make light work. So one of the things of a journey of resilience, we want to talk about the journey of African Americans as they came to the United States, the migration to the urban life, the civil rights movement is going to talk about it. The arts and culture, the innovation and inventions of African Americans and predominant people from Will County, Joliet, and surrounding suburbs. Also the community and the spiritual aspect of it. If you look at Joliet, it's a chopped up, segregated area, but we believe that the community and the spirituality and the logistics of where this building sits will work well, bringing everybody together. Next slide. The other points we thought, what would that building offer? We will offer guided tours. We're going to offer lecture series. We're going to offer youth programs, storytelling, art and music workshop, film screening, community events where you can have jazz concerts because we have room, movie nights on the side of the building for the community. And we're going to collaborate with the different local leaders and partners in Will County, the Latino community, the Collins Street Coalitions, JAM, and all the other various functions. We have already been partnering with them, getting things done, and it's working well. People have started to take notice of who we are, what I am about, and what I feel this building can do to help Will County and the community. Community involvement. So the community involvement is a volunteer opportunity. We want public input. We want to collaborate with local churches and schools, and we want to work with all the various African-American clubs, associations, and events, and to talk about the African-American flight while we're here. Next slide. We put this slide in here because the architect that I hired to do our building was the same architect for the Creek Monique building. This building was rescued similar to our building. It was saved from demolition, and they rescued the building. It has landmark status like our building does. And this is one of the success stories of hiring the right people to do the right job. So Andy Paycheck is the architect. Some of the same carpenters and limestone smiths we're going to bring in to get our building up to speed, because we wanted subject matter experts working with old buildings, not just somebody we found. And so we sought out, and this is one of their success stories. Next slide. Funding needs. Thank you. Funding needs. Now, don't faint, okay? He's over there fanning himself. Don't faint. I know it's a lot of money. However, I put the total request funding needs of what we feel to get this building where we want it to be, where we feel it should be. There is room for us to make adjustment, but that's how we want the building to ultimately look when it's completed. It has a widow's peak where you can walk up through the ceiling and look around the city of Joliet. It has two fireplaces in it. They won't be put back, but they would be full. That's the floor plan of the building. When you enter it, this is some of the drawings the architect has already started doing on the building, how the structure will have to be designed. We're now in the phase of completing the code environment for weight and ADD compliance and all that stuff. I let the architects do that stuff. Total budget. So exterior, we budgeted 172,000. Interior renovations, 221,000. Labor and landscape, and the totals came out to 442,000. Next slide. I don't know if he can see the other part. And so we did a breakdown, and I'll let you guys go check the breakdown out. But the breakdown talks about some of the things that we've already repaired: soffit, fascia, roof, tuck pointing, exterior cameras, landscaping, parking lot, etc., which totaled 172,000. Then I've met with several contractors because I wanted a real scope. So I think I've met with 5 HVC contractors, 5 electricians, 5 plumbers, and got so many estimates because I wanted to be almost close, and they all somewhat close. And so we did an average of what would cost to get this done. Next slide. What we've done in the meantime, we had a fundraiser that actually sold out. We had our first sold out. The gala sold out. We raised $21,000. Shows the people really interested in what we're accomplishing, including you as a local organization who's going to award us, we assume, amount of $2,500. We haven't gotten it yet, but they told us we were going to get a grant from them. We have a program, and if any of you guys want to join, I might put that as a disclaimer. We have a program that we call the $5 fundraising campaign. And I basically put this out. $5 can go a long way. So we put a program out that if people just give us $5 one time every month, as long as they can, it'll help our cause. Because I understand money is tight on people, but $5 is a cup of coffee and a donut. And that program raised $1,757 to date. So it's helping keep things moving. We had a Juneteenth fashion show fundraiser, and we partnered with the Joliet Historical Museum, and it was a good turnout. We raised $2,883. I've personally spent my own cash of $25,000, and it's going up, of my own money, because I can't ask people to help me with a project, and I haven't put any skin in the game. So I personally spent about $25,000, and we continue to go. We applied for a Joliet Township grant that we haven't received. And we applied to sit in front of you guys to give you guys the projected what we feel to get this project done of the $450,000. Next slide. Just more data on. Now, what we did was, if we got exactly what we wanted, we would have a surplus of $121,000, and that surplus would be to maintain and hire staff and do other things that you have to do without taking from the original construction of what we want in the building. So next slide. Economic and cultural impact. So Will County, what would this building do for Will County? It would increase tourist and economic development. That I know for sure, because I'm paid to travel around the country and talk about the roles that African Americans have played in the wars. People pay me to travel around. So when I tell them I have a museum for this, they're going to come here to see what we do. Increase property values. My mission and vision is to help bring the east side of Joliet up. The east side, as you guys are already knowing, you've probably heard it in so many meetings, it's not a lot going on over there, for a better lack of words. We really want to bring that side of the town up and make it just as equal as the west side and other sides of Joliet and other parts of the county. We're going to do that with cooperative partnerships, education awareness, and historical context, sharing the inequalities of the roles of African Americans faced in this country. It is not a knockdown or a beat, it's just a fact. And finally, the preservation of history. You know, I often say when I speak that history is not being taught anymore in the schools like it used to. A lot of our children are being not shown or taught the things they need for even their own cultures or anybody else's culture for a fact. So one of the things we want to do is share with everyone, like African American history didn't start with slavery, and unlike people think. We didn't start out in slavery. We've had a culture in Africa and brought to the United States. So it didn't start with slavery, but we want to share that. We don't want to use it as a tool to beat anybody up or attack, but we want the history of the Latino Afros and there's other cultures that all compared or all entwined with African American history. And so this museum will do that. We want to be a resource center for the veterans that have PTSD. We want to work with groups like HERO to help those who have gotten involved in drugs and what you spoke about with substance abuse. We want to be able to have a one-stop shop, and if someone comes in there and say, hey, who do I call for benefits on? I need help. Here's a number, here's a resource. Takes money to do all that, but it's a robust, big vision. But I wanted to share because this is the only group of all the groups I have not had a chance to sit in front of and share what my vision is for the museum and for the county. And my last is call to action. We encourage the support of this vision and want all you guys to consider and accept what we have done and what we're trying to accomplish for the county. Let's see, Jim, I got that done in 18 minutes.
Yeah, hey, I like it. No, and you know what? Thank you, Luther. It's very informative. A lot of great information. Did drive by your building the other day.
Okay.
I mean, you've made some massive improvements over the course of the last several months.
6 months, totally. Yeah, we've worked a lot, tirelessly.
No, it sounds like you're doing all these things for all the right reasons, from your heart and from your head. So
Well, thank you. Thank you
very much for coming out. And looks like Julie, you have a question.
Any questions, anyone?
It's good to meet you, Luther.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being here. I absolutely love this project. And I know Sandy put a lot of her heart into it.
Yeah.
So very happy to see where you're at. I'm sorry I missed your events. Had
Yes.
no idea they were happening. And I'm glad to see that they were so successful.
Yes.
I was wondering, have you reached out to, there's many Route 66 nonprofit organizations. Have you reached out to them? Are they providing any support?
We've reached out to, I couldn't even tell you this. We've reached out to a lot of people. Route 66, the Heritage community, the Heritage Corridor, Township, any and everybody. We've been sending our information, asking for assistance with this project. Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, Thornton's, the people who moved the building, we've even sent them a packet about what we're doing. We've unturned every rock that we could find.
And sometimes with these nonprofits, you have to come back at them not just once, maybe twice.
Yes,
maybe-
yeah.
And that comes back to manpower. So I think, I've worked on a lot of endeavors, nonprofit endeavors, and I know what might be very helpful right now is to get one or two people who can maybe circle back
Mm-hmm.
with these organizations. And a lot of these organizations have money.
Yes.
And, we are, given that we're Route 66,
Mhm.
that's huge. And there are so many reasons to support this project. So you may need to just tap them on the shoulder again, and then maybe again, but don't give up in
Right.
that respect.
Right, right.
And I will tell you, I frequently, because I talk to everybody, talk to complete strangers, and I can't tell you how many people I meet who are driving through this neighborhood right here, following Route 66, and they come from all over the
Right.
the country.
Wonderful.
So this would really be, this is a great addition to that. And last, I want to just share something that's really means a lot to me. I love the music component, and I would like to make a suggestion
Sure.
that you include, make that a big part of this project. I love gospel. I love jazz. And, you know, we lost all of those key places in the city, and I don't want to see that die. And this is an incredible opportunity.
Absolutely.
And it just absolutely brings people together,
It does.
and it just creates bridges. So I love that part of it. So I certainly want to be there when those things happen. So don't forget to let me know.
We will not. Our target opening date, and it's aggressive, it's June of 2025. And people ask me if I'm nuts, maybe, but you know, it's just what designers, you know, that's my mind. We can do it.
And the other thing too, with the whole musical aspect, because it's such an important part of many cultures.
Yes.
There are some nonprofit organizations that I think would also be very interested in musical organizations that this would be a great compliment for them.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, thanks for coming today.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
having me. Anybody else? Questions? Concerns?
No. Oh, Mark,
Mark? Oh, okay.
go ahead, Mark.
So are we voting on something
No,
today?
Just a presentation today,
Just a presentation?
presentation
Yes.
today, so.
Okay, so there'll be a further debate about this 450?
So here, just to, you know, give you Luther, where we're at in the county's
Yes.
timeline or that.
Yes.
Right now, we're in the budgeting process.
Yes.
So we all are on different committees and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure this information is going to be shared throughout the whole county board and that.
Perfect.
So as we go through the budgeting process, we'll probably have some additional discussions and things like that.
Okay.
You'll continue to pursue your path of looking for folks, and I will continue to drive by your facility and be watching the improvements. So,
Well, wonderful.
so thank you. Thank you very much for coming up. And
Okay.
thank you to your team back there too.
Yes. My wife and two of my board members as well.
Nice. Well, thank you very much.
Keep me in line.
Yeah, well, you did a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, that's an incredible timeline you've been pushing through. So next up is the RNG plant at Greg. You just push your button. There we go. Good. One sec. There we go. Now you're good. All right. All right.
Good morning, Chair Richmond, committee members. Thank you for having us. I'm Greg Comperta, the project manager for the RNG facility. Beside me is David Hartke, RE Land Use Director. We will be presenting the update for the county RNG facility. I'll start with, I'll keep this brief. I'll start with the production and move on to some other items. So if you recall, April, last time we were here was May, and we discussed our upgrades in April. April 17th was the date where our upgrades were finished, and we started going on to trying to run full time at a good rate. So we're looking at April production, and this is in MMBTU, which is metric million British thermal units. It's the unit we use to measure our output and our product. So in April, we're at 30,476, which was a lower number. The following month, May, was the first month we ran with all our upgrades completed. We hit 76,194 MMBTU, which was a all-time high since that plant's been up and running. So that was the highest number we ever achieved. So it was a great achievement. The plant was running beautifully and not many problems at all. A few improvements, upgrades since we last met. In June, we had some extreme heat, so we had some cooler cleaning to do. So a little bit downtime for that, nothing significant. We have some spare parts coming in, 2 compressor motors. The reason they're doing in the fall, middle of fall probably, we don't have the exact date yet. And The reason we're ordering spare motors, it's a large investment. It came from last year's budget, but there's a long lead time to get these motors, and we found with experience that we need to have them. So to keep our production continuous. So currently we have everything functional, and the way it works, we have 3 units available, 2 run, and then they run back and forth to maintenance. But we found that if one fails, we have to wait weeks to get one. So sometimes months. So those are coming in shortly, and there'll be a nice cushion, like insurance, to make sure we don't have any production issues. So some comparisons between our production before April 17th, when we had all the upgrades, and after. We did find that the plant consistency, its runtime has been very improved. Our average production percentage, so this time we're running into our pipeline, from the opening of the plant to April 17th was average 77.22%. After April 17th through June 16th, this is a few weeks old, this memo, we were at 98.41, which is more than super happy. That's more than we expected. So on to the fiscal year budget discussion. Bless you. What I would like to hand out, this memo is about 2 weeks ago. We have updated numbers. While I was handing out, so what you'll see in this section, the numbers in the memo are from June 15th, but we didn't have May. But we had a May estimate, but we didn't have June estimates for that. So the numbers I'll read off here will reflect up-to-date numbers as of June 30th, including expenditures and income. So I wanted to have a more real-time idea of how things look, as opposed to waiting a month and a half for revenue. So I'll read through this, and okay, so total operations expenses as of 2 days ago, last Sunday, June 30th, we're at $4,046,982. The total debt service, this is through June 30th, is at $2,600,094,912. So our total operational revenue as of June 30th is now $4,996,196. That revenue includes our May production number, about $1.3 million is our revenue for May. And now that we have June's numbers, in June, we're expecting about 1.165 million. That's just within a few thousand. The price is pretty solid for our gas, and then we know what the rates are for RINs. So putting it all together, we have a net income of negative $1.746 million. And if you remember, back in April, we were about negative 2.5. So we're making that, we made that turn up. Kind of looking at the numbers, if we could keep about $300,000 to $400,000 profit a month above, and this is also including our debt service. So including debt service and expenditures, it looks like around the end of the fiscal year, we could kind of meet that zero number and start flipping over to their profit. The equipment is running great. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, we went through a heat wave early in June, and we didn't have too many problems. A few small items, but not the big problems we had last year. We don't have the Achilles heel anymore. So I feel confident. I'm proud of our staff that took care of all this, the technicians that worked on it and did a great job on this. And essentially it's running like it's supposed to. It's
Good. So what you're surmising is that we should be at a net zero loss for the end of the year based on your
hopefully,
projections.
the projections, that's our goal.
Okay, and then the following year, we should start to see positive revenue generation.
We should.
Julie, got a quick question?
Yes. Greg, in the past, we spoke about the electrical contract and the cost we were paying for our power. Did you look into that at all to try to bring that down?
So I do know that the year
And when the current contract we have, when does that come due?
for electrical,
Yeah. Because we really haven't talked about that.
We should have like 2.5 years, I think, left on that. We did contract with Constellation Energy, an
How
energy
many-
supply contract quite a ways back already.
Yeah,
That's
how long
probably
was the
20.
contract? Can you remind?
Uh,
I
three-
didn't
3 or
think
4
it-
years, I'm not sure. To look at it.
Maybe we want to just review that and
Mm.
take it, because that was one of the highest costs
Yes.
in operating. And I was looking through my notes to try to find out what the next step was on that, but it wasn't, I
No,
didn't,
so, I mean,
couldn't read my writing.
before we went with Constellation, we were coming straight from ComEd. So we did get a reduced rate that who worked on that project was Brianna. Brianna, in our department, she worked out a contract with Constellation to lower the price for that 2.5, 3 years, as Dave mentioned. It's the same company that does our natural gas. So we do have a reduced rate for our electricity. Let's cut up for the next 2.5 years.
So maybe we can just have a refresher on that and when it's going to be coming up so we can prepare in advance.
And I think one of the things that you should maybe do is work with staff and maybe it's Mary, it's your team or that, so this, make sure this isn't on one of those auto renewal type things. Got it? Thanks.
So, Dave, is the electricity on the county's contract for electricity, or is it a separate
The R-
contract?
The RNG plant is on a separate contract, separate from the RNG or the other county facilities.
Okay, so well, if you could provide that, we'll look
Sure.
it over.
Good, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. We definitely do that.
Yeah, looks like you got a question then. Looks like.
Yeah, just two quick questions. I'm kind of new to all this, so when you say debt services, is that the money that you made, but you're paying off the bonds or the? Oh,
Yes.
Okay, just be clear on that. And then the other thing is, you made 100% like increase in output.
Mhm.
What would you say that just the machines running well attributed to that, or is there anything else that attributed to that 100% increase? I mean, it's awesome. I just want to know.
Well, the month before is a month where we were having repairs done, so we were down for a significant amount of time. So especially for April, that's a lower number than expected. If you go further back, we were closer to 50, 60,000 range on average, which reflects that 77%. So April was probably the lowest number just because of the downtime.
Okay.
So, yeah, a number would be more realistic, an average number would be closer to 55,000, 60 we did before. As you average out before the April date. I could get a number that's more accurate if we want to average it out too.
I'm okay with staying at 76.
So are we.
So are we, I'll do everything in my power to stay there. It's a challenge.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the assignment of tax sales certificates.
Sergeant Revis.
And we do? Okay. We have a previous second? Do I want to second the previous?
Second it, even though I'm in.
Go ahead, yeah, yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item,
Three of us on the committee?
Plus Jim.
four, yeah, but I can't do anything, so,
Right.
you know. Yeah, I know, otherwise we'd be home by now. Number 4, transferring appropriations within various county budgets. Can I get a motion?
Motion, oh, God.
I'll second.
Previous Revis.
Second Newquist.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Number 5, appropriating funds in the coroner's budget.
Motion Revis.
Second.
Previous Newquist.
What?
Second Revis.
Did I miss 4? No, I had 4. Oh, it's okay. Okay,
Previous-
that's all right.
Previous Newquist.
Yeah, so we're on 5, yeah.
We're doing 5.
So you have 5, Terry? We're good? Okay.
We need a second to make previous, you guys.
Second previous.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, appropriating grant funds in the coroner's budget. Can I get a motion?
Second, Revis.
Previous Nucleus.
Second, Revis.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, appropriating grant funds within the Will County Health Department budget. Can I get a motion?
Motion Nucleus.
Second, Revis. Second, Revis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, transferring appropriations within the Health Department budget.
Oh,
Can I get a motion?
go ahead, Julie.
Motion.
Second,
Previous.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, appropriating grant funds in the Health Department budget. Can I get a motion?
Motion Nucleus.
Second, Revis.
All right, we got a discussion item here. Julie, can you hit your microphone? Please, thanks.
So is this the same item that was on the agenda last time, but then went back because there wasn't?
No.
Yes.
Or-
Is it the exact same?
Okay. This is the mental health one?
Yeah. no.
Yes.
Yes, this is the same item that was previously on, but because it had not gone through the process with the mental health board first, it could not come to you guys for approval. So now it's followed the appropriate chain and it's back before you.
Yeah, and now what they've done, if you look at it, what it does is it kind of lays out how they plan on spending the monies. $800,000 in salaries, and by the time you add in fringe benefits, it's like $1.1 million. Office furniture, telephone, just you wanna follow along. Computers, computer hardware, utilities, professional services. Did you see it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but, okay, so who oversees this? If they're going to have a physical space, is that county property? I mean,
This is putting funds into the health department's budget. This is not acquiring property or space for the mental health board. This is the mental health board giving money to the health department
And how it's gonna be
and
broken,
how it will be broken down.
how be broken down
okay.
based on their,
and it says
Allocation.
rent.
that's
They
because.
have rental facilities, so the health department does.
So, oh, this is for the health department's rent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what it's doing
And-
then is breaking down into all these different categories to the health department's budget, the specific dollar amounts
Where
that are
they'll
gonna be allocated, right, Marcy, they're gonna be allocated to the health department's line item
Correct,
in their budget.
yes.
So they have to tell us basically, Karen, where all the funds are going, or how the funds need to be allocated for her portion of the,
So that they can go ahead and spend them out of their budget.
Okay, okay,
all right?
great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
You need a second, or, you previous, yeah.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Other new business? Any public comment? Anybody out there that wants to comment at all? Anybody in the hallway? Anybody online? Okay. Announcements and reports by the chair. The only thing that I did have that I just wanted to bring up is now that 708 board does have monies in their coffers, so to speak, what we need to do is just discuss their payback schedule and or if they have paid us back or that kind of stuff. So that'll be something that we'll want to keep track of, as well as the CAC. We did lend them that $1 million. What we need to do is just keep track of, and I know staff is doing that, but just from a finance committee's perspective, what we should be doing is just also keeping it, back of our mind with how are they doing with their grants? What's the progress that's being made, and when's the anticipated payback period? So we can add it to our agenda. I think everybody's seen that calendar that we kind of put together, or that. What we're trying to do is make sure we spread everything out. So one day we don't have a 3-hour meeting. We can try and, so maybe what we can do is work with Marcy and come up with some good months that we can actually put it in and have them come out and just give us that update. So but that's all I had. If anybody else has anything else.
Just as you're talking about payback schedules, I forgot that we had loaned money to the CAC and then what was the other entity?
To the 708.
Yeah, so-
1,000 or something like that.
So is that only allowed within county unit to county unit? Or are we, and this might be something we have to look into staff wise, but you know, we often have groups come to us, ask us to provide funding for whatever their goal is. You know, would it make sense to start implementing some sort of loan system to these individuals that they could use? I don't know if it's allowed though.
I would be careful and cautious on giving out monies to outside entities other than counties where county departments that are having, you know, they're just waiting for their monies to come in.
Sure.
Type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think,
Loaning.
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I
As opposed
guess,
to granting.
I guess probably the better, I mean, depends on semantics is, are we loaning them the money or just transferring the money to them and they're going to transfer us money back? That's probably the better description of what we're doing.
Yeah,
Yes, technically they are
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
are
yeah.
technically loaning them money, but really.
I
it's
see
a
what you mean.
transfer on a line item on.
Well, I just thought, you know, from the Howe presentation today, you know, loaning them $450,000 and then they turn into a great attraction in the county and people are visiting them regularly and they're able to more, you know, quickly raise funds and then they could pay us back. I don't know if it would work like that, but it just was a thought when you mentioned payback schedule, it came to me. So,
Yeah, this is within, I'll call this intergovernment fund transfer.
yeah.
Karen shaking her head, thank you very much for me finally getting the right words. So, thanks for the clarification. Julie, then Steve, and
So
then.
Jim, a quick question. So the 708 Mental Health Board, will they be coming to the board with a financial report? Or I was under the impression that we had no authority over them, or
I've been told we have no
Where-
authority over them, other than the fact that what we need to do is know when the monies are going to be coming back into.
so
Right,
their
appropriate.
funding comes from the levy. So the treasurer will send their revenue, their levy, what's collected with the levy, directly to them, and there's no form of reporting to the county board at all. Correct, Rashawn?
So.
Would you like
I
to?
tell you what, I'll
just-
try and answer that.
Okay,
Based on what I've been told so far is that we have no oversight over them. They're their own board, they do their own thing, they spend the money based on what their board's recommendations are. I think our role primarily right now is just to see that the funding comes back to us, that we had transferred, lent, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's probably the best answer right now.
They have obligation under the statute, though, to provide reports to the county executive's office, but not to the county board.
And it looks like Mary's got a clarification.
Just in addition. 'cause I
One
think
second,
all-
one second.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're
Yeah.
on.
So just in addition, I think all of that was correct, but then you have the responsibility of deciding how much to levy every year. So they will have to come with their request and you will have a certain amount of discretion when they come with their request and get information.
Yeah, so I just try and when I put those things out there, it's because I want everybody to know what's going on and try and be as transparent as possible as far as things that I'm thinking of, or that we're actually walking into our budget season. Marcy's been sending out information in that, and this committee's responsibilities are always, we always have a lot going on, but for the next 3 months we are going to be extremely busy. So just want to make sure we keep everybody on track, as well as I don't want to have us here till 3 o'clock like we were sometimes because we put too much on the calendar for one given point in time. So Marcy and I kind of worked out something. We're always interested in getting other feedback. So, but I think those will be two things that we'll add to our calendar for the upcoming months. So, that's all I have. We have no need for an executive session. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Revis.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Next meeting is scheduled for August 6th here at the county building. And legislative, we only ran over, looks like 4 or 5 minutes, so.
Good job.